So one thing that I've actually wanted to do for a while is start doing vlogs about tips for writing. And 'cause to be completely honest with you, that is probably the number one question I get from people these days. And I haven't even published my comic yet. But people always want tips on how do you write romance, how do you write this type of character, that type of character, so on and so forth. So, what I wanted to talk about was how something was reinforced to me recently through a video game that I was paid to play by someone else. And I wanted to talk about this because I really felt like if I didn't talk about it here, as you can see, I'm obviously dressed up to the nines. Today is my podcast day at the time I'm recording this. So, we always get dolled up for the podcast, for the politics part and things along those lines. But anyway, the coat's new too. So I actually quite like it. It's not a pinstripe like my other one, which sadly got oil-based makeup on it over Halloween because I went as Scullo Micah, and I have to go get it dry cleaned now. Fun times. So anyway, but I actually got paid to play a game called, what was it called? Something with a K. It was some fucking visual novel, and Katawa Shoujo, that's it. And for those who don't know, for those playing the home game, I am not that big on the anime. I'm not that big on especially anything that is slice of life or romance or anything that is going to try to make me feel some sort of emotion beyond, cackling joy at someone else's suffering or blind rage. So, when I ended up, as I played through it, I played through the first few hours, and it was largely a long, decompressed setup of this school full of people with different disabilities. And your love interests, because again, this is a visual novel, and it's Japan, and the whole harem thing is big there and whatnot. You have one girl who's blind, one girl who is deaf, one girl that I'm pretty sure has autism, one girl who is burned on 50% of her body, one girl with no arms, and one girl with only half of her legs. So, how do I put this? It was definitely interesting as a premise, because you have to keep in mind this game was created by 4chaners, so the concept just makes total sense. And some of the dialogue, you can definitely tell was written by Channers as well. But oddly enough, what struck me strange about it was that it was good. After you get to after all the decompressed bullshit, because Bendis, take a shot. I don't know how I fit, but well, actually no. That's one thing I really feel like should be discussed right out of the gate is how do you write romance? How do you write that sort of thing? First thing is that you need to choose exactly how you want to set up the relationship. Is it love at first sight? Is it something that grows over time? And so on and so forth. And you have to sort of give that feeling right at the start so that the person that you are engaging with already knows where, what they're sort of in for when it comes down to it. And how do I put this? If you don't set the expectation early, then oftentimes people aren't really able to engage properly. And that was kind of my problem right at the start, was I wasn't able to engage with any possible romances until they literally stumbled into me, and I was like, okay, now we're in business. Now I'm not going to talk about who the romance went with or whatnot. I'll just give a hint: back door. But the thing with romances and the way you write them is one of two things. One, anything you see in a rom-com, avoid. Seriously, avoid it completely, because rom-coms are terrible. And that's sort of the problem with romance, is that they are oftentimes written with the idea of a fantasy in mind as opposed to something that is more grounded, which would be my general tip when it comes to writing relationships and when it comes to writing romances in general, is you need to ground them. You need to make them feel like there is a foundation there. Because what is a relationship? Well, whenever a relationship is built, especially a close friendship or lovers or what have you, when that is built, one thing that you're going to find is that those two people that are involved find themselves in a situation where they have to fill in the blanks for one another. And the process of doing so, it can be outright fucking painful. And you cannot shy away from that. You can't shy away from what it is because it's basically two human beings trying to figure out one another's baggage. And that was one thing that I felt that game got right, and that in my experiences, like, that's oftentimes how relationships continue to press forward, is that oftentimes most people are wounded in some way, shape, or form. We are damaged in some way. But this especially gets, because you're dealing with people with physical handicaps or mental handicaps, there's damage there, psychologically speaking, that has to be dealt with. And that has to be something that the two adjust to, and the two understand, and the two have to discuss and sort of figure out. It is like a... I don't make this metaphor very often, or simile. I don't... it's metaphor if I say it is. So it's a simile in this case, because it's like... Sorry, I had to go back to first grade English. It is like... I don't know if any of you out there have ever tried dancing with someone that you've never danced with before. And I'm not big on dancing, obviously. I'm big and uncoordinated. You would figure, being that I like to box, and I screwed up my freaking knee in footwork exercises, that I would have better feet than I do. But I seem to only do when I'm punching someone, not when I'm dancing with them. But regardless, it is sort of like dancing with someone that you have never danced with before, and trying to figure out what to do. And it's awkward, and you're probably going to step on each other's toes, and you're going to find yourself in situations that are a little bit weird, but hopefully at the end of it you're both smiling. And that, in my opinion, is the key to a good romance. That was one thing that I kind of felt Marvel got right with Spider-Man and Mary Jane back in the day. Because you were kind of on that cusp of the time when writing in Marvel Comics was getting a lot better than it was before. Because the guys who worked there just continued to push the envelope of like what hasn't been done in comic books yet. And the Mary Jane Watson Peter Parker romance, especially under David Michelini and under JMS, J. Michael Straczynski, fits that profile. Another really good example outside of, well, actually not outside of comics, let's go with another one, is the relationship between Invincible and Adam Eve, and how their relationship has to overcome these almost mundane things. But they are things that are concerns, and they are things that people don't know how to move forward, and they're looking towards the other person to, again, fill in the blanks. So, the best thing you can do is figure out, when you're writing a romance, how would this really play out? What would be the awkward moments between the two? What would be the things that they have to get over together? Who takes what role? Who, is this a relationship of the one person is the support, or and the other is the drive, or who is the driving force in the relationship? What are they? Is there a goal that the two are trying to overcome? Are they just trying to grow together to enjoy one another's company? What are they looking for in a relationship? And I'm of the opinion that those are the ones that are the most compelling, because that's what real relationships are oftentimes built on, And oddly enough, I often find that the best way to write a relationship is to make sure that you've had experience in them, because oftentimes the worst romances are always written by people you can tell don't date. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you like the suit, especially like. Anyway, also, if you haven't yet, please have a look at the link in the description for the Micah and The Hatman channel. It is, for better or worse, Hatman and I's live streaming channel. We have our podcast every Saturday. We have the overflow on usually around Tuesday or Wednesday. Here soon we'll actually be doing a midterm election special. Hopefully we're going to have a couple guests. I'm going to send some DMs today to see if people will be able to stop in and hang out. And then, of course, we have introduced something brand new, which was the inspiration. This is called Game Night. I don't know what we're going to do next week. It's looking like we might do a little bit of Yakuza, so this should be interesting if nothing else. So, with all that said, my name is Micah Curtis. I'll see you next time. Dave's Vault.